Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hello.
good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. Got some
Good.
news today. Did you hear about it?
Yeah.
So I just want to tell you a story. So I text Alex, like, we're Disneyland news is about to break. We got a little bit of a heads up, and he goes, Disneyland, what is it? And then I was like, it's a theme park made for parents and children where they can have fun together. But that's not important right now.
Did he get it?
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Very, very good.
That's good.
So we'll hide ourselves and we'll share the news right here.
And the news is that Disneyland Resort, it's a reopening update, and I'll just read exactly what they sent out to us and to the World Wide Web at large. We previously announced a proposed phased reopening of our theme parks for July 17th, pending government approvals. We developed enhanced health and safety protocols for both cast and guests at Shanghai Disney Resort, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, and Walt Disney World Resort that have been approved, allowing us to reopen in a responsible manner and bringing our cast members back to work. The state of California has now indicated that it will not issue theme park reopening guidelines until sometime after July 4th. Given the time required for us to bring thousands of cast members back to work and restart our business, we have no choice but to delay the reopening of our theme parks and resort hotels until we receive approval from government officials. Once we have a clear understanding of when guidelines will be released, we expect to be able to communicate a reopening date. Our downtown Disney district will reopen on July 9th, as previously announced, with health and safety protocols in place for our cast members and guests. The opening of downtown Disney district has been previously approved in line with restaurant and retail openings throughout California. The Master Services Union, which represents our retail cast at this location, previously signed an agreement for members to return to work. In order to reopen our theme parks, we need to negotiate agreements with our unions to return employees to work. We have had positive discussions and are very pleased to have signed agreements from 20 union affiliates, including the Master Services Council, which represents more than 11,000 of our cast members. The signed agreement details plans that include enhanced safety protocols that will allow us to responsibly reopen and get thousands of our cast members back to work. We thank our cast and guests for their patience during this unprecedented time while we await approval from government officials. So bottom line is that Disneyland is not going to be reopening on the previously announced date, and they did not offer a specific timetable for when they will.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on there. One is some of the unions, particularly the more vocal unions, feel like they're not ready to go back to work. Now, that's not uncommon these days, just because of the way the unemployment system works. There's really not an incentive to go back to work at this time. Until the end of basically end of July. So they're expressing their concerns about the safety protocol. It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously China is not a great example as to determine if it's working or not. And we haven't heard anything yet from Walt Disney World if it's been successful, but there's questions there, as to what is going to happen. And so the unions sent a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom the other day saying they don't think Disneyland's ready to open. While that's all going on, California, and also Florida, as chance may have it, have seen a major spike in cases, which brings natural questions as to whether they should move ahead or take a step back. So it seems like there's a lot that just kind of needs to sift its way through the system. I always kind of felt July 17th was probably not the right date for him anyway, but we'll see.
How much do you think related directly to the complaints from the cast members, or the cast members union at least, the concern?
It's hard to. I think a fair chunk based on the. I mean, that's why I thought it was important for Rebecca to read that statement. Is a large chunk of that is based off of union talk, right? You know, it's not. We don't feel it's the right time, or anything like that. It's the we're trying to we got to work out deals with the union. They're optimistic in it, but I think a fair chunk of it is union based, because if Disneyland got the go ahead on July 4th, they'd recall their cast, and 2-week turnaround is not out of the question. Right. Mike, what do you think?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was ready to go back. I was mentally preparing myself to get back in the park. But I noticed, as you did, that the cases have been going up here in Southern California as they are in Florida. So I was kind of half expecting this announcement to come, and it wasn't terribly surprising when I heard that today. But I'll still be going to Downtown Disney. Did we mention that Downtown Disney is still? Yeah, obviously that was in the statement. So July 9th, I'll be going to Downtown Disney to check that out. And, cross my fingers that by sometime in July, the mask thing just got enacted here last week again, where masks are required statewide. So hopefully that will help in reducing the number of new cases coming up over the next month. And then eventually we'll get the go ahead to go back in the parks.
Ben, are there specific concerns that were raised within the union letter, like specific elements that they wanted to have addressed that they were not?
I don't think they were specific. I think they felt that there was more Disney could do.
In regards,
we should have temperature check. I mean, the standard stuff Disney's already doing, right? Temperature checks, masks. That we've seen that across the globe. What they want beyond that is unclear. They might have it. It just wasn't in the letter they sent to the state.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it was the right thing.
I see that the
right venue to list your demands.
Right. Within our bullet point list of what was in the letter, I noticed that we pointed out that they applauded Disney's ability to pay cast members for the first month the park was closed and continue providing healthcare benefits at no cost during the furlough, that they had already agreed to temperature testing for the cast. And then the next point says that the primary concern appears to be around testing. And the letter also stated that Disney has not yet responded to many other safety concerns. And I was just curious if we had heard, kind of specifics on that. So
I do want to address SD Giant 25's question about, wouldn't we know if it backfired here at Universal Orlando? So Dr. Raul Pena, he's the Department of Florida of Health representative for Orange County. And, the question really is, were there cases that stemmed from Universal Orlando? And he has gone and said, basically, there's not been any significant number. He didn't say zero, but there's been no significant cases that they can track back to the theme parks. What they have had a huge spike in are the bars located near UCF. So the downtown sort of club scene, where obviously you're dancing, you're exasperating, you're more receptive to it. So that seems to be that's what's hitting Central Florida particularly hard, according to them. I'm no doctor, but that's what my understanding was based off the 1,800 different press conferences I've watched.
I think not Bilbo was asked two questions. There's one of them on the screen, and then followed up with, if the question is safety concerns, why did some unions accept terms and not others? So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot going into play there. One is, some unions are more hardline than others, like in any place. And so they're going to want even more workforce protections that maybe not reasonable, or maybe they are. Maybe one group was more just excited to get back to work. Disneyland, particularly food and beverage, had union issues since I was there 20 years ago. There's hardliners in it, and then there's sort of, people who just want to do their job. I'm not saying which side's right or wrong. That's not for me to say. But, like the Local 50, which seems to be pushing this, is they're known for being, combative is not the right word, but fighters. And, I can't speak as to if the safety concerns is, I'm sure for a lot of people, is completely legit, because the numbers are not looking good right now from California. But also at the same time, there's no incentive to go back to work. So why risk it? Why risk your health and your family's health when there's a government program which is going to give you more, money for staying at home? And I don't want to suppose that anyone's being disingenuous, but that's a natural question. Is now the right time? And I don't know that it is. I mean, even without the union, the numbers are in the early guidance as to when things would reopen. The numbers aren't following that guidance.
Right. I do see that among the concerns that were raised in the letter is I want to say structure of testing. The way the letter is written, it gives me the impression that they didn't feel like they had a very strong understanding of exactly what Disney was meaning when they talked about they would have testing. And it seems like that's the union is raising that as the concern, that they want to have a more, it sounds like a more well-defined path of testing. That's my kind of pulling the data out of what the remarks are here.
Yeah, and that's a touchy subject, right? Like, is it an employer's job? Do you want your employer to do medical testing on you? And is it appropriate to do it? It's one thing when you're in the NBA, and you're playing basketball. But if you're going through the screening process to make sure you don't have it, is that sufficient? Especially when, as of right now, anyone can get a test for free. It doesn't save anyone money. And, do you really want your employer sticking something up your nose, at what point, for no reason? And many, the guidance has typically been amongst, businesses that you shouldn't be testing people unless they exhibit symptoms. Then they should go to the proper place and get a test, which is covered by their insurance. Any Disney cast member can get as many tests as they want, after getting doctor's orders or going to one of the, community test sites. That's not an issue, but it should be part of the workplace program. And where this comes from is some of the performers that are part of the unions there are, also do like big Broadway shows where testing maybe should be part of a workplace situation, because you're in extreme close contact, and you might not be in a position, if you're in a touring Broadway show, there's more to it. So, are they creating a precedent for their other unions if they say we're not going to do testing? So it's as I said, there's a lot. I think one of our commenters said, Daniel said it perfectly. There's a lot to unpack here.
Right.
So I know they've opened several parks already, but none in North America. Is there any reason to think this is going to impact the timing in Florida?
I don't know. I mean, the numbers in Florida are concerning. No one is saying the numbers in Florida are not concerning. So,
but theme parks already opened in Florida, so it's. I mean, obviously, if they decide to close Universal, that's one thing. But assuming they don't close Universal, do you think Disney, separate from the government, could make the same decision?
I think it could happen. I don't know. I mean, I think it's not going to be for the same reasons, but it's not out of the question that the theme parks in Florida, not just Disney, will close. I do want to
Well, I
address
mean, I would-
Danielle Kramer said not all cast members have insurance. That is correct.
Yeah. That is true.
The full timers have insurance that's paid for by the company. But even if you do not have insurance, anyone watching this has the right for free testing in the United States, I think through September at this point.
I was going to mention something about that. Oh, for me, this announcement, as far as regarding Florida, just shows me that they're willing to kind of put themselves out there and then go pull back. So, because they aren't pulling back because some intermediary has stepped in and said they must pull back.
Right.
They've pulled back because of the situation. They just don't feel comfortable moving forward.
Which is what Disney did in the beginning, right? They closed before they were told they had to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have no problem. They have no problem doing pulling back. That's why the reservations. Jeff brings up a good point. They've already started reservations in Florida, but theoretically, that should basically be locals unless they had a pre-existing trip. No one should be traveling out of state to Florida right now, per CDC guidelines, particularly now considering it's a hotspot. So, just like they closed the parks without warning before, I'm sure they have no problem doing it again. Christina Manson says, if you're part-time, you don't have insurance. That is correct, but you still have access to testing.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Yes.
Who I'm sure is extremely disappointed that he's not going to Disneyland in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever.
Like I said, I went to the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana last week, and we passed Disneyland on the 5 freeway, and I couldn't see it on the way down because it was covered by one of the office buildings. But on the way back, I could see the Matterhorn, and it brought a tear to my eye. I was like, this is the longest gap that I've gone without going to Disneyland in a long, over 5 years, which is crazy.
So I know you're our Star Wars correspondent as well. So surely the first thing you want to do is Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. But aside from that and the other ride in Galaxy's Edge, what's the one ride you just can't wait to get back on?
Oh, your favorite, Pirates of the Caribbean.
What a waste of time. All right, next.
Ben, do you anticipate that there'll be documentation within your ticketing now that it, in essence, would fulfill what Jeff is asking regarding some sort of release? Will that now be an aspect of whatever is considered your ticket contract?
When you book a reservation, you have to check a box that says, I've read the COVID-19 disclaimer, for lack of a better word, and check that box. And so, yes, I mean, not the ticketing, but the reservation side.
Okay.
I want to say, when I went to Universal City Walk here, when they opened up, I don't remember what date it was, but it was the same day that the Disneyland reopening got announced because I was there when it happened. And I remember that day thinking okay, this is the start of that ball rolling, and it's going to keep speeding up until everything is back open again and things are back to normal. But it's becoming clear to me now that that's not going to be a straight line, that we may take one step backward for every 2 steps forward in this process.
Stephanie brings up a point that they probably wouldn't want to risk going back to work and getting sick if they don't have insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's entitled to copay free, whether insurance or not, COVID-19 treatment. So I understand there's obviously cost concerns, but the more important concern is, yes, you should be concerned about going to work, getting sick, and not only affecting you, but affecting your friends and family that you may be in contact with. So yes, that's obviously a big part of this in California right now is, but I think the reason that Disney delayed at this point instead of getting closer is because they still have to negotiate with their union groups, but that's okay. I don't know that I think they should have moved the date to begin with. I thought July 17th was a terrible date because you're putting in this extra be there on the opening day pressure, the anniversary, which just seems super silly. I would have done July 18th at the earliest.
Well, that is the anniversary.
What's that?
July 18th is the actual anniversary.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah,
That's a-
I talked to a friend of mine who said that he would not have been planning to go back on the reopening date, except for the fact that it was the birthday.
Sure.
But now I'm guessing that he won't go on the reopening day, whenever that ends up being.
PSA: don't make decisions regarding your health based off Disneyland anniversaries. So yeah, I mean, not Bilbo says they're covering pay for any time lost due to COVID. That is correct. That's sort of in guidance with current guidelines that if you get sick or you have to quarantine because someone in your family gets COVID-19, you will still get paid. That's sort of across the Disney board. And Nicole is selfishly sad. I was hoping to go to Disneyland mid-August. Looks like I might have to make alternate plans.
That's
Yeah,
selfish. We all miss our Disney. That's not selfish at all. It's a very important part of our happiness.
We understand.
And when you're happy, I'm sure your family's happy. I can see your family, I believe, there in that picture. So there's nothing selfish about that. Your family wants you to go to Disneyland too.
And we also don't know that it's not going to be open by mid-August. So,
right.
But I can understand if you're traveling, you might no longer feel confident in kind of banking on that. So it's not so it's a little different for you. It's down the road.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking as a local.
That really get hurt, right? Like, if Disneyland opened tomorrow, I could go down, but it's having a plan and buying, maybe buying a plane ticket. How about that, Jeff? How about that, Doobie?
Jeff Schinkel, I should know your name very well considering you created the logo for Disney Trivia Live. Thank you for pointing out the more important thing. Hamilton, as far as we are aware, has not been delayed. July 3rd on Disney Plus. July 3rd is a holiday this year because the 4th is on a Saturday. So make sure you get your Disney Plus going by July 3rd so we can all watch Hamilton together. Thank you, Jeff, for pointing out the biggest news in the world right now. Hamilton is still on.
And
we do have breaking Hamilton news.
What's that?
Lin-Manuel and the original Broadway cast of the Hamilton musical will perform during Global Goal Unite concert this Saturday to promote the upcoming Hamill film.
Yeah, I want to say I'm not a fan of this Hamill film thing. Not at all, for what it's worth. I'm also going to spare you my singing today, but tune in on Saturday, Disney Trivia Live. Mike C will be there. We're doing Star Wars trivia. I will sing.
I think that this should be a thing. I think Disney fans should get popcorn, find a curb, and share pictures on July 17th. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
All of us share pictures of wherever we're at, just on a curb with popcorn, July 17th.
And a hashtag.
Some sort of hashtag with the curb.
Not at the park.
Yeah, but it'll be fun. We'll make it fun anyway.
So, is that about it?
I think so. I'm just reading the Hamilton news, which is irrelevant.
No, very relevant.
Are we going to have a party now? Now that we know that we're not going to be okay, I shouldn't say that. We know now that we're not going to be there on July 17th, right? This is clear that it's not going to be July 17th.
It will not be July 17th.
So, I mean, are we going to have some more like online fun? Because, I thought I was going to be seeing Mike C in person.
Can we announce it right now? A 30-hour party, 30-hour live broadcast?
Were you guys planning on coming down for that?
I was hoping that we'd come down, even if we weren't going in. I was hoping we'd come down just because I'd like to go somewhere.
It's like a cage, Mike.
Virtual day at Disneyland.
I think we can have some.
We should do it.
We should have some fun.
Midnight to midnight.
Get the crew together. Have a good time.
I think
you organize that, Mike. Take care of it.
Gideon does the Jungle Cruise. Everybody takes an attraction,
Oh, good idea.
Danielle's genius. We should hire
That'd
Danielle.
be fun.
Show you Disney first.
There you go, Disney curbside.
Disney curbside.
Hashtag.
And this is a good question, and I don't know the answer.
And you'd like to.
So what happens for
I
those
know
who
a few
have
people who are waiting for the
a premiere pass? Will it expire with Walt Disney World? Fantastic question. I guess we will find out.
Jeffrey, we'll have to meet up at Disneyland virtually. I love wandering the Disneyland on Xbox.
Is this the Jeffrey that
That'd be
always
fun. Yeah.
kicks it on our trivia? Yeah, it is.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
believe it's the Jeffrey that won the prize pack.
Yes,
Yep,
it is.
it is.
Yes, it
Very
is.
cool.
Yeah.
So there's the big news for today. Disneyland has announced that they are not reopening July 17th as previously expected. That Downtown Disney is opening on July 9th.
The district.
And that's it for now. We'll wait and see what happens next as we all what is the word that we all use now in this unprecedented time?
In this unprecedented time, we
We'll
want you to know laughing place.
we're all still in this together.
ABC has a new game show called Don't, which is just a weird show. But they go, so like as they go to commercial, it goes like question for you: how many of the upcoming commercials in the next break will have the phrase "in this difficult time"?
I thought that was a really. we watched the first episode of Don't, and I think that was the funniest joke of all the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool.
That was your one word review. That was your one word review for Don't, right? Don't.
Yeah. I like the hot wings. I like the lady the dude had to eat all the spicy food while he was walking on the treadmill. That part was entertaining.
Disney Lost Boys and Girls say, personally, we believe that Disney made the right call of postponing its reopening, especially since we have members in our team who work at the parks. Best be safe than sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balancing act, right? I mean, we at some point, they're going to open, but I agree that probably now's, by a couple of weeks is not going to hurt anybody.
Yep.
So tomorrow at 4, you got something going on, Doobie, right?
Yeah, we're going to be talking Disney parks with our regular live show. It's going to be me, Rebecca, Jeremiah, and who's our fourth?
Mike,
you're going to be there. Cool.
Yay!
I love that. What a team. It's going to be fun.
Look, I've been to Disney parks. There's me in the Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
What?
There's a picture of me in the Guardians of the Galaxy mission breakout.
So we're going to have you up tomorrow, and that's one of your attractions for the 17th. So, so we're going to be doing that tomorrow at 4:00 Pacific time. Just make sure you, however you're watching us, either follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, or subscribe on YouTube and ring the bell, and you'll get notified when we go live at all times.
Yep.
Because you have fun with us, and you want to be here, talk Disney with us.
Yep. So be safe, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
bye, everybody.